Oh, I gotta share the audio.
Yeah.
So.
Oh wait, I need to record. Hold on, stop.
Okay. Oh, really?
Do I need to?
No.
No, he records all of us
No.
at once.
It records all of us. We good. We're
Oh,
recording
okay.
behind the scenes. This is how the sausage is made, bitches.
Oh, disgustingly.
Sausage and nuts, and go.
Is that coming through okay? Did that little bump for a second?
I think so.
Yeah.
Just for a second.
Yeah, it's hard
Good.
to tell.
Mhm.
All right, so I just wanted to test the audio since I didn't get a chance to do it. Okay, we're ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week, we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killin'. 5 cold villains on the mic, got you reelin'. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name of someone, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all with 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? Welcome to another ditch-digging, witch-burning episode of Straight Chilling. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 242, recorded on Monday, November 25th, 2019. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the winner of the November poll pick, the theme of which was movies that Justin would hate. And the winner is Rob Zombie's 31. You lucky listeners.
I can't believe a Rob Zombie film won.
I know. Because
what were the chances?
Rob Zombie. I think it was 100%.
I think 100% odds.
Yeah, I crunched the numbers there. It's 100%. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from just outside Chicago, we got our boy Randy G. Landy. What's up, Randy?
What do you want?
Your soul.
This fucking podcast made me watch this movie today, so I'm a little pissed. I'm a little pissy today.
Our patrons made you watch this
I know,
movie,
and
Randy.
who gave us a Patreon page, Rob?
Next up, calling in from Southern Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, Soju?
What up? It's your boy Schlockstains. We getting down in the dirt today, kids. Getting down in the dirt today.
Zombie stains, moon stains, I don't know. Break stains, there's a lot of options. Last but not least, joining us on the show for the very first time, we have our good friend Danielle. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Hello.
That's me.
Danielle, welcome.
First, I'm so excited that I got to hear the "It's Ya Boy" live because that's like my favorite part of the show. But
I told you guys. I've been telling you.
Oh, don't feed his ego. That's big.
sorry. It's the worst part of the show. But you forgot to say where I am. I'm in the Midwest. Bob, jeez.
True.
Yeah,
I don't know
Bob.
exactly
Hunt them
where
down.
you are, though. And also, I don't know if you want me to put you on blast and be like, this is exactly her coordinates. This is where you can find her.
Yeah, this is
Send
where
a
I send the
drone.
stickers to. So,
But
yeah.
Danielle, you are you're on your own podcast, Ghoulish Cast, and you're definitely the best part about the show. You're Anthony's better half, hands down, 100%. But why don't you inform our listeners about your other spooky doings and where they can find that stuff at?
yeah, so pretty much all I do is spooky doings, but when I do it professionally, I'm on Ghoulish Cast with Anthony. We mentioned him. He's pretty good, but you can really just listen to me.
He's an anchor.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
But
We're trying
we
to steal
do
you
a
away now.
Ooh.
Yes. One of
we
us.
could do the Straight Ghoulish Chillin' podcast.
Oh,
Straight ghouling.
Straight Ghoulin. But yeah, so we are a podcast who interviews creators in the horror industry. We've had some pretty cool folks on there. And we also make cool horror video essays on YouTube under Something Ghoulish. And yeah, you can support these things and get cool stuff for $1 on Patreon.
Cool. And you absolutely should, because that money does not go to Anthony. It goes to Danielle. And that's
The
where it's
good
gonna go.
one.
The good one.
All I do is lay on the dollar bills that come in.
Just
That
making
bed's got to
dollar
be getting
angels.
pretty fluffy at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for joining us, Danielle.
Yeah.
Before we get into the show proper, let's go ahead and tackle some housekeeping real quick. Just another reminder, the December poll pick is currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this December, the theme of which is movies that we missed in 2019. And the movies that are up there you can vote on are Parasite, Ready or Not, and Daniel Isn't Real. Parasite is definitely winning, like pretty heartily.
Okay.
So you've got until the end of November to cast your vote. Don't forget to do so. We also have some glorious Patreon news. We have not one, not two, but three just fucking sexy brand
The
new
Holy
Patreons.
Trinity.
Dear sweet Lord.
Sure.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The
The
Lord
Holy
is
Spirit.
supporting us.
The Holy Spirit dedicated $5 to this podcast.
We've got Patreon in heaven.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Malort
your
has
10%.
finally supported us.
You know, they're big supporters of the arts up there. You know?
Praise my Lord.
Praise Malort.
Praise be. But of course, we got to give a big shout out and a big thanks to Kelvin C., Allison T., and Adam R. for joining us on Patreon. We seriously do appreciate that support. It helps us keep the lights on around here. And of course, we got to give you that straight chillin' salute. Here we go.
Slap my ass!
There it is. That's what you get. That's what your money purchases.
Yep.
Slap my ass. If I could triple
see
fist
what
it, I
you've
would.
done?
But
It's
I
the
only have
kissing
two.
booth of the 21st century. Slapping
Yes.
asses for money.
Yep. Gotta do it. Justin, you have some news for sure. Why don't you lay it on us, big dog?
Is it housekeeping time? Let's keep this house. All
We were doing
right, guys, here we go. It's happening Monday, December 2nd. Bracket of Blood is finally kicking off. We've been talking about it this month. Let me give you a few more of those details just to clarify because it was brought up to us. This is a public event. So anyone can participate. You do not have to be a Patreon supporter. So anyone can participate in our Bracket of Blood. It is kicking off this Monday at midnight, December 2nd. Our Bracket of Blood is kicking off. If you haven't heard, this is our way of choosing the top horror film of the decade. We are talking horror movies from the decade. We have compiled a list of 112 horror films from this decade, and we have separated those into a bracket-style voting system. And so we have 4 different categories that will kick off round 1 to kind of start whittling these films down. Killers is going to be the first category that will be starting on Monday. So let me give you an idea of what Monday is going to look like. So at midnight on a Monday, you can start voting. Yeah, Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Randy. Killers will go live, and Killers consist of 28 different films. They're separated into 7 different polls. So poll A, poll B, poll C. So let me tell you, poll A looks like this: Get Out, The Guest, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and The Babysitter. So you can vote on one of those movies. You get 1 vote per poll, but since there are 7 polls, that means you have 7 votes. So each poll has 4 movies going head to head that you can choose. You will be able to vote until Friday, 11:30 p.m., December 6th. So this is going to be a Monday through Friday voting event.
Look at these monkey fighting polls on this
Yeah.
Monday through Friday bracket.
Amen.
There you go. So you have the whole work week to vote on these films. Like we said, there's 28. You get 7 votes to choose from. And then at the end of that, over the weekend, we'll be compiling all the votes. And there will be 7 winners from the polls. If you're having a hard time, some of these are going to be really hard choices, some of these head-to-heads. If you're worried about one of your favorite movies, having to choose between a couple too, we also have a survivor round. So not only are the 7 highest votes from the polls going to continue on into round 2, but also the next 4 highest movies will go into like a survivor zombie round wild card that they'll be able to kind of move on to the next round too. So 11 films total will move on into round 2. We are kicking off next week with Killers, but we are doing a different category every week for the month of December. So it will go Killers, Monsters, Haunters, and then Macabre. And that will be our month of December, round 1. And yeah, we've got a ton of films to get through. We want to hear what you think is the greatest film of the decade, horror film. So please help us vote. You can find it on all of our socials. It will be hosted on straightchillingpodcast.com. We will have the polls on our Twitter, Instagram. You'll be getting reminders, and you'll be able to see the individual brackets and the graphics and all that kind of stuff. So please subscribe to us on all of our socials. We are super excited. Bracket of Blood. We'll be talking about it on this podcast every week, talking about the winners, talking about the movies that are going head to head. So please join us.
Yes, hunt the vote. And as we whittle the numbers down week to week, we should have the final winner somewhere in mid-February.
Yeah.
And, we'll definitely make that big announcement on the show. But participate with us. The more the merrier. And I think it's going to spark some pretty interesting conversation.
And arguments. Get in there.
Yeah.
Fight with each other.
Right.
So, apology in advance if your favorite film was not included.
Yeah, fight with each other, not with us, please.
Did you mention the Black Friday thing?
Also, we have a special Black Friday special cast coming out on Black Friday that will go into a little bit more of the details of this game overall. If you're still a little confused or you want some more in-depth details, we do have a special episode coming out on Black Friday that is specifically talking about the Bracket of Blood exclusively, so you can get ready for Monday when it kicks off.
Yeah, so, when you're riding around town, going from like Best Buy to Target to FYE, buying all those Blu-rays that are definitely on sale, you can listen to that in your car on your way.
Did you just say FYE? You
FYE.
don't hate yourself that much, do you?
Man,
They've got some
I
good
wish
stuff.
I wish we still had an FYE here.
Dude, FYE is the most overpriced place on this planet.
Actually, that's not entirely
Dude, I went there pretty recently, and at least the one I went to was like $30 for a 6-year-old copy of Lost Season 6.
Yeah, they do have some crazy stuff. And Lost has never been worth that much.
That's where Bob gets all his cheap $35 steelbooks, right, Bob?
Oh, yeah. Maybe the steelbooks cost as much as a CD of fucking Foghat.
Foghat. Let's go ahead and get into what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Hey Randy, what you been watching?
Hey. I watched a couple things this week. The 2 that I'm going to talk about briefly are as follows. I watched Knives Out. I got an early screening of Knives Out nearby, and I think it's kind of been like on a limited run or something, or a limited pre-release or something to get the buzz out or something, because they were playing in every theater in town, but only one showing per night for like a week. I don't know why that was, but movie business, whatever. Anyway, let me say, it's a delightful film. I highly recommend this movie. I'm a big Clue fan of Clue.
Okay.
And
the biggest Clue fan I know.
Oh yeah. And
huge.
It's not as goofy as Clue, which I mean it's totally fine though, because they take the sort of whodunit aspect a lot more seriously. It's really more like they took a classic whodunit and then put pretty humorous spin on it. Daniel Craig is great in it, and I was really not sold based on the trailer on him specifically, but he got me throughout the course of the movie. So, and it's a unique story. It keeps you guessing. It's just a delight, and I really recommend it. I also have been keeping up with Watchmen, and I have so far sort of my interest in that has grown and grown. I will say it's definitely, we're on episode 6 of 9, I believe. I don't know if it's a limited series or going to go into a second season or not, but on episode 6, it certainly pales in comparison to its source material. I think that was bound to be the case. But taken as its own thing, I'm kind of enjoying it, and it's gotten more and more depth as time has gone on. They just had an episode last week featuring a lot of Tim Blake Nelson, who I love, and this past week they did some really, really cool cinematography and a lot of like really, really interesting just camera choices and things like that. I think it's worth a watch if you're a fan of that comic book. Like, it's not gonna leave you the same like jaw drop sort of scenario, I don't think, but I really do think it's worth being made. I'm glad that they made it, honestly.
Finally.
It kind of it occupies the same space as like El Camino did for me for Breaking Bad. It's not necessary to be there, but it is well done for what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of those like comic book or superhero shows. You don't even have to be fans of the comics or like the superheroes to enjoy the shows. Like a lot of people just watch them because they're good. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case with this one. I've read Watchmen for years and years. It's been one of my favorite books for a long time, and so it's kind of tough for me to take myself out of that. But all of the shit, yeah, well, whatever. Fuck you. You have steel books.
You're living in steel, Bob.
You might as well be a Funko Pop, Bob. All right, so I'm just gonna say it's. As a comic fan, like there's a lot of comic fans that are pissed at it, but it's because they bring their own baggage to it, in my opinion. I think it's an enjoyable adventure show, and I think that it really pays a lot of good homage and respect to the source material as much as is possible. So
cool. Hey, Juice, what you been watching?
I finished Into the Tall Grass. I always mess up the name. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Into the Tall Grass. Okay. Something Tall Grass. Yeah, I finally finished that. Man, it's pretty good for like another like little Netflix Stephen King deal. Once I finally got through it all, there's some really messed up stuff in that. Like, man, but for having a setting where you're just wandering around a field, I will say that a lot of the movie is just people yelling into a field, which can get old after a while. Yelling each other's names.
You basically just described this podcast minus the field.
Rob.
I'm just a field. I can't talk back
for 2 hours. But no, it's got some pretty messed up stuff in there and some interesting unique things as well. I think some of the monsters that you get are pretty cool. So I was digging on that, and also spoiler a little bit. I haven't seen Crimson Peak, and it is included on our bracket of blood at some point. So I'm trying to go through some of those films that I haven't seen so I can vote properly. I didn't finish it yet. I don't know how I missed it when it came out. I've never seen it. So it's on Netflix right now. So I made it maybe about halfway through. And old Del Toro, man, he's got that style. I love that guy. But I think that's about all I've been watching.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, do you guys
Danielle.
like Crimson Peak, real quick?
Yeah, I'm a fan. It's probably on the lower end of Del Toro, but it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Crimson Peak just was a movie, correct? Or was there a show? Oh, okay.
Yeah, just movie.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
It made our list for a reason.
A little more CGI than I'm used to from Del Toro, but it's
true. But his approach is pretty spot on for handling that.
So
I think
all of those ghosts are actually practical, and then they just like CG on. They
CG out
the
mat.
Yeah. Interesting.
But they don't really look practical. I know what you're talking about. I felt the same way.
Okay.
It's too effective almost.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. I'll finish it with that perspective in
Yeah.
mind, though. Huh.
See, if you bought the Blu-ray, you'd have all these bonus features that would
If
tell you all
only
about
I
that kind of
did.
stuff. So.
If only I had
You know,
anticipated that and
instead
not
we have
watched
a
it
instead we have
free
a
on my
friend that spent
streaming
$45 on that to tell us about it.
Oh, here we go. Danielle,
Sorry.
what you been watching?
So Anthony and we interviewed Adam Egypt Mortimer, who did Daniel Isn't Real. So we got an early screening.
Oh,
watched
cool.
that.
Whoa.
We watched that. I think I don't even know what day it is.
Did
Friday, I think.
You dropped the shit out of that name, by the way. I can't even hear anything else anymore. It's so loud.
I did what? Oh. Well, don't worry. It was only a 10-minute interview, so not a big deal.
No, that's awesome.
But we got an early screening of that. So, like, when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, this is gonna be like Neon Demon, which Neon Demon was a great film, but to me, I was like, okay, like I saw it and that was it. And so I was like, I don't know about this. And then I watched it immediately. My favorite movie of 2019, like
wow.
to the top. It was so good, and I don't want to give any spoilers because it's not even out yet, so I don't want to do that. But
Yeah.
Do you guys know the premise of the movie?
Not
I
at all.
saw the trailer.
So
yeah, just the trailer. Yeah, what's it about?
basically there's a kid who has an imaginary friend, and the imaginary friend is evil, so his mom's like, lock that bitch away, get that out of here. And he's like, you have to go in. So he puts him in this dollhouse, which at first you're like, okay, it's just this kid's like imagination of him like going away. And then he grows up and his mom's like kind of mentally ill, and he kind of is too. And so he's like, his therapist is like, why don't you just let him out? Just see what happens. And so this imaginary friend comes back and like fucks up his whole life, and it's this like evil, crazy imaginary friend, and all this crazy shit happens. And then at the end there's some like creepy like monster shit that he like morphs into, which I was not expecting. I thought it was all psychological thriller, you know. So it's sick. It's
Cool.
good. But
Oh,
I highly
laundry's done.
recommend that. Yay, that's a cute laundry sound.
Thanks. Yeah, and that hits VOD on December 6th, so that's not far away. A couple weeks.
Yeah, I think it's a Shudder exclusive, so I don't know if it's gonna be in theaters or not. Someone asked me, and I wouldn't think that it would go to theaters if it's gonna be on Shudder, but
yeah, Shudder. Sometimes when they say something Shudder exclusive, that doesn't mean it's only on Shudder. Like it'll eventually only be on Shudder, but not always right off the bat. Like they might get it a few months later, and that'll be the only place you can see it then. So I think it's probably going to get like a limited theatrical and then just regular VOD release.
Just based on a quick search, it looks like that is the case.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's going to be like, it looks like a pretty limited run, but yeah, it's listed on Fandango and it's AMC and stuff. So
if it comes here, I'm definitely going to go see it again in theaters because it's just amazing. But other than that, my husband beat fallen freaking Star Wars, so now he's watching all the Star Wars over again on Disney Plus.
Ready for that new one.
Yeah,
it's gonna be so good.
You gotta get ready. I mean, how could you just go into Star Wars not ready? It's just not. It's not the kind of movie you can just sit down and watch.
Star Wars, guys. Okay, come on. It's a beloved franchise.
It is, and I totally get it because when I was little, my mom had the fucking VHS trilogy gold edition, whatever, and she would make us watch it all the time, and I'm like, Mom, for fuck's sake. But so he found this cool way to watch it on Reddit where you watch them in a certain order and you get all the backstory before Darth Vader happens, and you get all this cool stuff. So he watched all of those, so that's what I've been watching this week reluctantly. And that's pretty much it besides Castle Rock, because this season of Castle Rock's been like an A+.
Agreed.
Big A+.
Yeah.
It's so good. That's it. That's all I can say about that. So good. She's just Lizzie Kaplan's so good at Annie Wilkes. I put them side by side and had her talk, and it was like if you closed your eyes, you wouldn't even know.
I know. She kills it. Absolutely kills it.
Yeah.
Like she's born to play that role. She's born to play crazy. Which
is weird because like I know her mostly from Party Down. I don't know if you guys have seen that show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude.
Oh yeah.
Nate, Nate's my husband. Nate and I have seen that like probably. Well, there's only what 2-3 seasons, and then
I think
they
it's
keep-
two,
there's
yeah.
two.
Yeah, pretty short.
And so I mean, it's easy to watch through, but we've seen it like 8 times.
Yeah.
And like, God, what a great person. I don't know. She's so versatile when you see her in this kind of role.
I cannot think of Lizzie Kaplan and avoid thinking about that scene where she asks T.J. Miller if he's heard of Garfield on Cloverfield. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
love that so much.
Man.
Clovenfield. I only really watched like one movie this week. I was trying to find some more obscure Christmas horror stuff to watch.
Oh, 'tis the
some
season,
new stuff.
Bob?
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. So I came across this movie called ATM from 2012.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've
And,
seen that movie.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
it's alright. It's alright.
Yeah, it's alright.
It's got Josh from Drake and Josh in it. Like
Oh, really?
after he lost some weight and grew up a little bit. Josh Peck, that is his actual name. But it took me a second to realize it was him. I was like, I know that man. Where is he from? Where is he from? His character in this movie is straight obnoxious as hell.
Yeah.
Though.
Well, I mean, here's
not
to
a
being
fun-
typecast, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But it basically the story of it is there's this like office Christmas party, and these 3 coworkers are at the party, and two of these people need a lift home, so they get this dude's car and they make a pit stop on at the request of good sir Josh, because he needs to get some money from the ATM so he can buy some fast food because he's drunk and hungry. So they go inside the. It's one of those like standalone ATMs. It's got like a building. It's like a designated small building with ATMs inside of it. So they walk inside there and they're getting cash out, and this creepy shadowy figure walks up and just like stares at them menacingly. And as they're trying to figure out what the hell this dude's about, he starts murdering people, and it gets spooky scary.
Does it take place on Christmas, did you say? Or
Yeah, it's on Christmas.
Okay.
That's really the only way it is a Christmas movie at
yeah,
all.
that's what I was trying to figure out.
During Christmas.
Yeah, it's snowing.
Yeah,
I
it
think.
is.
All
Yeah.
right.
A decent thriller, not amazing. There's some questionable plot stuff happening, but
Okay.
it served its purpose overall, I think, as far as
It's all you can do in an ATM like building.
Yeah, it's like phone booth, but with an ATM. I've seen that.
Sometimes
Did
you
I
got
love
sometimes you
phone booth.
sometimes you write a movie based around a location that you have access to, I think.
Fair.
Probably, yeah. But that's more or less all I've been able to watch this week. So let's go ahead and jump into our main event. We're talking about 31. Let's kick it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
All right, a Rob Zombie joint from 2016.
We forgot to mention that Danielle is our Rob Zombie guru that we've brought in,
Yeah.
our specialist
Yes.
today.
We need a counterbalance.
Yeah, to give an
Thank you.
alternate perspective of just pure hatred.
What
That
if
is
this
very
movie
fair.
doesn't suck?
Whoa. Never thought of it that way.
Now that you mention it, you're blowing my mind, Danielle. Jeez.
It's going to be a disappointment if I don't like this movie, right?
Mm. Actually, I would
I
greatly
don't know
enjoy
how
that,
you
but-
could.
The intrigue is building.
Mhm.
This is starring Malcolm McDowell, Richard Brake, Sherry Moon Zombie, a bunch of other people that aren't really recognized from anything else. But the synopsis.
Whoa.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Mrs. Elizabeth Daly, who played Tommy Pickles. Hello.
That's right.
Oh,
EG's in this. I was like, why do I know this woman? What? She's Tommy Pickles and like fucking Buttercup and like
Everyone
every
else.
cartoon
Yeah.
voice you can think of. She's it.
Everywhere.
Who is
And
it?
in this,
Oh, the girl. Oh, the sex.
She's the
pot
short,
girl or
blue-haired
whatever.
sex head.
I gotcha.
Sex
yeah,
head.
Yeah, I gotcha.
which is crazy because she's like, I think she's edging on 50s
Oh,
by the
yeah.
time
Oh,
this role
really?
was coming on,
Oh,
and she
yeah.
looked fucking great. But we're jumping ahead.
Yep.
yeah. So the synopsis is as follows. 5 carnival workers are kidnapped and held hostage in an abandoned hellish compound where they are forced to participate in a violent game, the goal of which is to survive 12 hours against a gang of sadistic clowns. How much more Rob Zombie can Rob Zombie fucking get?
Yes.
So we've all seen this before, I believe. I think.
Nope, I
Juice
have never
hadn't.
seen this before.
Juice
Oh,
has
it was your
seen
first.
it.
Ooh.
My first
Beautiful.
time.
You never
Burns.
forget your first time.
And
With
never forget your
31.
first 31 viewing.
Oh yeah,
Just burns into your brain.
yeah. It's that time you want back.
It's that
Would-
acid burn.
Would you guys recommend people check this out, Randy?
If you are a Rob Zombie fan, if you like what Rob Zombie does, this movie is exclusively for you. There you go. Otherwise, you are good. Take it easy. Watch anything else.
Mhm. Juice, what about you?
No, Bob, that's a big no from you, boy. Soju.
Shaboy. Danielle.
Well, it's free on Prime, so if you have Amazon Prime, just
Best
do
thing
it.
about it.
You know, and I don't know. I always tell people, even with that shitty last season of Game of Thrones, someone asked me, should I still watch the show? I said yes. Because what if? You know, just what if? So
You know, I often compare 31 to Game of Thrones because they are equals in my eyes. They really are.
I mean,
The
last
political
season-
intrigue in this movie is insane.
A lot of
But
moving pieces.
I think since it is free on Prime, yes, you should check it out and just tell me what you think.
Danielle, are you aware that that is not Peter Dinklage in 31?
Are you
Not
aware?
all little people are the same.
That's Richard Brake. All right.
That is the actual connection between the two, though.
Yeah,
it does
it is.
exist. Um,
Is he in the? I don't know. We don't have to go into that
He's
yet.
the Ice King in Game of Thrones.
yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Night-
I didn't know
Wow,
that.
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
circle.
I know.
Here we go. We willed it into existence. Yeah, I would not recommend this. Not in your wildest dreams would I recommend you watch this movie.
Yeah, even if you had to pick like your
You
best
have
Rob
wild
Zombie
dreams.
film, which somehow maybe exists in some capacity, this is not it. This is not the
It's
one.
not it.
This is
This is
the
not
most
the
Rob
one.
Zombie film of them all. And if that means something positive to you, you will like it. And if it does not, you will not like it.
It's
Yeah,
nuts that
this-
even amongst Rob Zombie films, this movie sucks. It's like, damn, that's a low bar. It's like even in the realm of Rob Zombie, this is low. Like, damn.
It
Rob
feels
Zombie-
like
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it feels like somebody tried to rip off Rob Zombie's style, but it was just Rob
Doesn't
Zombie
it?
making a movie. Yeah.
Like
What were you
off-brand
saying,
zombie.
Danielle?
I was gonna say, Zombie compared it to Devil's Rejects, and I feel like it's Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses if they had a baby at a carnival and one of them cheated on the other with Saw or Hostel because of like the old people watching or like doing whatever they were doing, like playing a game. But I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Pretty sure this baby was a preemie, too.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Randy.
I was preemie.
Me too. You lay off.
Randy.
I was a big, fat, on-time baby.
That was late, bitch.
If you're on time, you're late.
Good cooked.
All right, so that sounds
You
like
all know about our births now.
Yeah, this. Yeah. I think this podcast could operate as our census survey.
It could at one point.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and drop the unnecessary spoiler warning real quick. Here we go.
Yeah. I don't even know what you could spoil in this.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, so just in case you are
Spoiler!
like
This
really,
movie's not good.
yeah, if you're really curious, I guess go watch the movie and then come back and finish the rest of the podcast. But there's not much to spoil here.
At least
Hey,
with
did you-
Rob, at least when Rob got his poll pick of movies so Randy got off lucky. It was a movie that was actually pretty decent with House of Wax.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I
Bob.
mean, more than you recall.
And then Bob got Resurrection, which at least had Buster Himes
Halloween
in it and was
Resurrection.
pretty funny. Or Halloween, yeah, Halloween Resurrection.
Halloween,
Buster
the good one.
Himes,
Buster Hyman's.
and was
Bus-
cracking me up with
God.
that damn rat.
What is happening?
Y'all remember that sweet rat scene?
Yeah, we remember the rat.
Yeah.
Let's spend the rest of our episode talking about that other
I
movie.
wish we could. I wish we could. Because
So let's
instead
talk
we
about
have
the
to
plot.
talk about Rob Zombie.
Here's the plot, all right?
Man, hang on. The opening scene of this film.
Oh,
the-
yeah. It's
the
pretty good.
opening- It's It's Richard.
It's
Brake.
all
It's very
downhill after that.
promising.
It is.
Mhm.
I was
Downhill.
like, oh shit, I might actually like this movie. Like there's like
No.
a I don't know, 8-minute opening that's essentially just a dialogue from Richard Brake, who kills it. God damn, if this man
Yeah.
doesn't try to save this film. Like god damn,
Yeah.
he doesn't try
He's
his
putting
damn
it all
bit.
out there.
Yeah, and he is the only one who I have ever seen make any Rob Zombie dialogue somewhat presentable, ever. In any film I've ever watched from Rob Zombie, he is the only one who's ever made it somewhat presentable. And dare I say good. Dare I
That
say
is
good.
that is a high bar. That is the highest bar I've ever seen launched in a zombie film, or
Yeah.
Rob Zombie film. He really sells it, and it's also like it helps that it's not the faux casual dialogue that Rob Zombie is so greatly known for, where he's trying to be Tarantino but with more uses of the word cunt and stuff like that, and just
Whoa.
making it as filthy as possible and as like I don't know. It's like the man's an edgelord. He's just an edgelord.
Watching a Rob Zombie film feels like hanging out in like a middle school like court, like the front court
Food
where like
court.
middle school kids hang out before they have to go into class. That's what it feels like. It's just
Yeah.
like, god damn,
But
are you
you're-
stuck being a 12-year-old? Like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
It's like
It's
a
like-
physical representation of Vampire Freaks. You guys remember that website?
No, I don't remember.
No.
Oh no, it was like MySpace for Gothic kids.
Oh wow.
That's amazing. Does it still exist?
I can't believe there's not a market.
I don't.
It's called FetLife now.
Oh yes, totally. It's about the same format. Oh my god, it's still a thing.
Oh, there it is. I found it. Oh, I'm
Right.
joining.
I'm
Oh,
joining. Rob's
Take
like,
me up on that
jackpot,
straight
baby.
chilling Vampire Freaks.
Oh, we
page.
got a new channel going up, people. The Straight
Join
Chilling
us.
Vampire Freak Forum.
Man.
One of us. Yeah, Richard Brake, the last line of that little diatribe that he does at the very beginning of this, he says, "You know what they say, Kemosabe. In hell, everyone likes popcorn." If you can say that and make people believe that it means anything at all, you're a fucking actor.
In hell,
Yeah.
Good for
everyone
you.
likes popcorn. Oh my god! And then, oh
Well,
my.
and
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, they had a whole documentary on the back, like on behind the scenes, that Josh Hasty did. It's a 4-hour documentary, which it
Holy
was.
shit.
It's a 4-hour documentary. It was originally 10 hours, and they cut it down to 4 because Lionsgate was like, no, 4. And then it's called "In Hell, Everyone Loves Popcorn." So that quote. Big deal.
Did you watch that, Danielle?
I
Or-
tried to find it and I can't find it. Like, you can buy it on iTunes, but I didn't have anything that could. Like, I don't have anything on iTunes, even though I work for
Gotcha.
Apple. Whoops.
I-
But I
Mhm.
couldn't find it anywhere, like, to watch it. So I wanted
Didn't
to,
you
though.
watch it, Bob? Or you were talking about it on one of our casts.
Well, you got the
No.
Blu-ray, Rob, so you
I
gotta
did
have
not
the
watch
special
any
features.
bonus
I know you bought the
features
steel
about
box
I
and
mean, look-
everything.
But
Then
yeah.
why'd you buy the steel blue, Rob?
Whoa, that's a compelling argument.
I see.
Thanks, man. Let's talk about this movie, I guess. So there's like 5 carnies, I guess, and they're in a van,
I guess.
and they get captured
There's actually like 7, isn't there? I don't know.
At
Two
one
of
them-
point, maybe.
5 of them get
8?
captured, and a
Yeah.
couple got murdered. Right out,
Yeah,
right
a
out
couple
the
get
gate.
killed immediately. So 5 of these people get caught and they get thrown into this like warehouse, and then like they gotta survive, and they slowly release these heads, these murderous people that are referred to as heads. There's like Doomhead, which is the first one that we see played by Richard Brake, who's the only one that's remotely interesting.
It's so laughable.
And-
It
yeah,
is so laughable.
They get released in like waves, and these carnies are kind of picked off one by one, or really they're not even picked off one by one. They just murder the heads. They just like start. These murderers aren't very good murderers. It comes to come to find out.
Well, they're very intimidating. Apparently, despite them being 5 of them, and like at first just one dude going around like dressed as Hitler, yelling in Spanish at them. I don't understand
that confused me so much the first time I saw this. I was like, why? Wait a minute. So we have like a swastika on this kid, and
well, he's a little person. He's not.
He's a dwarf.
Well, I call anyone kid, but on this dude,
I do that too.
It's the gamer in us, I think. Shut up, kid.
Yeah, kid.
But then he speaks Spanish, and I was like reading about that, and I was like, Rob Zombie found out that he could speak Spanish, so he's like, hey, do that. Well, then why did you put him in the, like, I don't,
they met for the first time on set,
German.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Maybe, I
no,
guess.
like Rob. Oh my god, the thing about this movie, and like even having this opening scene, and just like even by the time they get thrown in the warehouse, Rob Zombie is just so, his films are just like feel so amateur because he just like throws. You can tell like the dude doesn't really know what he wants. So he just throws literally anything at the wall, anything, just for the sake that it like might get recognized as like, oh, that's interesting or edgy or different. Like it seems like the man has like almost like little to no vision like whatsoever. Like, see, you're just like, this movie, it opens with this cool like black and white sequence, and I'm like, okay, this is like stylized, and like the way it was shot is like perfect, and then like that just like goes completely out the window, and it goes through like 10 more different styles throughout this movie, and it doesn't even lead you into these styles. It literally, it slaps you in the fucking face, and then it's gone. And it's
Can we talk for a second about some of the choices of editing in this fucking movie, where you'll just have freeze frames for no reason, and also like
that's like so House of a Thousand Corpses, but they do it really a lot at the beginning, and then the whole second act there's none, and then at the end there's some. So I'm like, what were you doing, the House of a Thousand Corpses thing, or no?
They were
there's
like
some bad slow motion too, like it looks choppy.
They just remove frames. It's not even slow motion. I think it's like they just take the frame rate down like 35%. And it's like, why like I don't understand why the purpose of that is. And then they'd have things like this, really like this is just purely poor editing. So there's a scene after the first head is killed, and they're invited to eat at that dinner table or whatever by Malcolm McDowell, who Malcolm McDowell has no shame. I love that.
He needs to be a little more choosy.
No, he doesn't.
With his roles.
I appreciate like I've heard tale. This is like secondhand. I don't remember exactly what the quotes are, but he's like, yeah, I mean, if they offer me work, I'm going to do the work.
Damn, we need to offer him, man.
I know. If they pay my fee, then I'm there. Like, Malcolm doesn't give a fuck. Anyway, but they walk into this dining room or whatever. The connective tissue between that scene is so nothing. They're lying there hurt. One of them just died, and they're all just like sitting there in a bathroom after a big fight, and then they're just walking into a new room. Like that's the way after every head is killed, it's like it's like a new episode of a TV show where there's just
That's
like
exactly
they skip ahead a bunch.
And like the new something happens where they kill one of the heads, or like one of them gets hurt, and it's a whole scenario, and you're like, okay, what are we gonna do with this? And then the next head just wanders in. I'm like, where did you even come from? They could just wait and kill every head as they walk in, because they're just waltzing in to whatever this warehouse.
Not only that, they walk in and introduce themselves, and then
they walk away. It's like they have like a WWE intro, where they run in and they're like they give a little like,
and then they'll be like,
the scary guy
for you sometime later, bye, and literally like walk away. Bye.
And then
like,
they just cry about it.
Chainsaws like, oh, we're gonna fuck you up.
And then the next shot is them in an entirely different area walking into a giant vagina.
When they make that cut, by the way, so like the like second wave of heads. So the first one is Schizo Head, who is the little person, Nazi
Schizo Head,
Spanish
that's
speaking person. And then
Too
the
many
next
things on that character, by the way.
The next
Yeah,
round that we get they're like two clown brothers with chainsaws, and they're called Psycho Head and Schizo Head. And then there's a third wave
so
after
dumb.
that,
God,
and that's
this
Sex Head
talking
and
about
Doom
this
Head. And
is
like
dumber.
Sex Head is like a small lady, and then Death Head is like this really tall German guy. And then after that, we finally get back to Richard Brake. They call him in. They're like, hey, all these other
Doomhead.
guys got killed, and we need your awesome murder capabilities to
I
come
really
and save
wanted
the day.
Tom York to show up, but it just never happened.
There's like a terrible edit where like once the Schizo Head, the two like clown brothers with chainsaw, when they come in, they do their thing about like one of them. It's terrible. All the dialogue is terrible. They say whatever they say, and then they just like run full steam ahead at our survivors with their chainsaws, and then it like smash cuts to them like walking into the vagina room. It's like, what happened? What happened? What happened?
You go
there?
from yeah, exactly, and that happens so many fucking times where it's just editing. It's just poor fucking editing where you at least have an establishing shot or something like before you get to the pink room. You're supposed to like lead into things a little bit, or at least have somebody say like, okay, we got to get moving. Anything like that would be fine. Better than what they did.
Segue.
Not only that, but just okay, like so his editing skills are terrible, but just even like just the general feeling or just like a general color palette or anything does not match in this movie. You start off with like a black and white sequence with Richard Brake, and then he goes into this like when they're driving around like in their
Chainsaw Massacre thing.
Yeah,
it's like you got this dusty kind of western kind of look. It's like everything's more
70s
yellowish. Yes, it's like grimy. Like okay, yeah, and that's kind of his thing with like Devil's Reject. Like okay, that's fine. Then they just get snatched up. There's no logic to it. They get snatched up and thrown in this like.
They look at grass. Or
Yeah.
what were they even looking at?
Yeah, it was like
looking
these
at
like
Get out.
scarecrows.
Yeah, don't get out. Don't get out ever.
They
You're
get
in a
snatched
bus.
up. And
Drive
then
through
they
the
get
scarecrows.
put in this like castle-looking thing. That's like then it's got these like rich reds and blues, completely different look, like complete. And then
Dude, you get
they
the powdered
wander
wig.
through like a warehouse which has just like this blue tint on it, and then they go through these pieces that like look like a carnival. So then it's kind of got more of like a House of a Thousand Corpses like color palette. And then they like wander around
the
outside.
wet kitty room.
Like
The pink room.
there's nothing that feels consistent in this movie whatsoever, just from a like color palette / setting / it's literally just like 8 different movies just like smushed together. Look wise. It's ridiculous.
And the story, like the plot and the storyline, so small.
Yeah.
It should be so easy and cohesive, but it feels like the beginning of the movie is like, okay, they're wandering around. They go to that weird gas station where Sherry Moon Zombie humps that old man for no reason at all.
And
She grabs him in the dick.
She grabs him on the dick, and then she sees that puppeteer thing, which when I saw that for the first time, I was like, hell yeah. Like that.
I kind of like that too.
The
but that's,
puppetry
like, the
stuff,
only
I'm like,
thing.
yeah. And I'm like, there's going to be like people hung up, like puppets. No, none of that. And then, where was I going? I can't even cohesively think about this movie.
Shit
but
doesn't
it doesn't make
happen
sense.
for a reason.
The only time it gets good is when Doomhead comes back, and I'm like, oh, okay, now we're back to the like thing that's good.
And even that, like until he gets, I don't know. I don't like that was a huge disappointment even for me.
Even
like,
his intro, God, it's just
his intro is so promising, and nothing lives anywhere near that level of.
Well,
of
I mean, I guess his second intro, where like they're like, we gotta call Doomhead or whatever. It's
That's the
so
worst.
middle. It
It's-
feels like a 12-year-old wrote this.
Let's
feels
take
like a 12-year-old
everything scary
wrote
about
this.
the first intro and just like erase it completely.
Do you know what it feels? It feels like that South Park episode where they write the thing and they just try to make it as vulgar as possible, but it's so silly. Like that's what it feels like.
Are you trying to tell me that you don't have sex doggy style simply so you can both watch Nosferatu?
Not the Nosferatu and just the
Oh
editing
my
that
god,
goes
that's
behind
edgy because
it.
that movie is cool.
And then later when he
I'm
like catches
good.
someone, he's like
It's
puts his
free.
hand in his pants and
Mhm.
he's like, you smell this crusty dong that's been fucking this whore. It's just
hated
like
that.
everything is so cringe. It makes
Mhm.
me like embarrassed for the man. It's like you're
Yeah.
close to 50 years old
This
and you
movie
wrote
se-
this for
This movie
adults
seems like it was
to
written
say.
on
like
a forum. This
It,
movie was not written in a serious
Yeah.
capacity.
It's a
it's
4chan
Yeah.
it's
movie.
just like
Yeah.
it's cringe. It's not edgy. And here's the thing about it. Never do I feel like offended or like
Yeah.
or like shocked about it. It just feels like I'm listening to 12-year-olds talk. That's it. I'm not offended. I'm not like nothing about it. It's like it's just cringe. That's it.
Yeah. And
It's
I
like somebody thought this was good and cool. Somebody
thought
this was edgy.
47% of Rotten Tomatoes like this. 47.
No!
That's so much for that kind of movie.
We-
like, what?
We
Oh.
usually play a game where we guess what that number is.
Oh,
and-
sorry.
It's
Cut
okay.
me out.
It's
Just
okay.
cut me
It's
out.
Rotten Tomatoes numbers.
I think I'll go with 47 on this one.
I'm feeling pretty strong about the 47%.
Here, just guess the audience one. 'cause
Yeah,
it's-
we'll do the audience.
Yeah.
That'll-
Yeah,
do
we
the
can do
audience
that.
one. But, like, how the what? How
I don't
this
know,
movie?
man. That's the critic score. What critics like? Are they all juggalos? What's happening?
Yes. Yes.
That's what it
Yeah.
feels like a lot in this
Oh
movie.
my God, I
not
didn't
to like
even
not
think. That's a
juggalos
Juggalo
or
movie.
anything.
Yeah, I know,
but,
and
like,
that was probably a little dismissive, but I'm just
Yeah.
trying to dismiss the movie, not juggalos.
it's just
I'm going to say
Just-
something nice about it real quick.
say something.
All right,
nice
man.
about
Please
it,
do. Please do.
So the first character that we have that actually dies that isn't a serial killer, it's just a normal person finally dies, is I don't even know any of these people's names. It's just like a normal
Yeah.
like middle-aged guy.
Sherry Moon Zombie.
He gets stabbed and he finally dies. And the rest of the surviving characters, the other four, they come across this like big dinner spread. When they sit down, they're like, well, hell, this might be our final meal. Even if it is, poison, we're going to risk it and just eat it. So they start eating this food and it's delicious or whatever. And then they realize that the table that they're eating on is actually a coffin and it's got the remains of their friend, and the meat that they're eating is their friend. They're eating their friend. And that was like a relatively effective scene, I thought, that I didn't see coming. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. Okay, well.
If any of
trying.
you can, if
trying.
any
I
of you
appreciate
can
that.
name the reference that came from, I'll give you a big hug.
It
I
was
mean,
a
that
reference.
happened in Rocky Horror. I know that.
Yeah, I'll give you a
Hey.
hug.
Okay.
I mean, from across the world, but
So that's acceptable. It's transferable, right?
You guys are
Um,
both in the Midwest currently. You're not that far.
Oh, well, there you go.
But
Hugs are
yeah,
coming.
when I saw that part, I'm like, "Fuck you for stealing that." But then I read that he actually made a reference to it, and I was like,
I mean,
"Okay,
I've-
okay."
I have no problem with that as a device or anything like that, but it's the editing that pissed me off there. That's where I first really was like, fuck this movie's editing, because they go from lying down on the ground with their dead friend to another room where their dead friend has been collected and cooked. And there's
Yeah, I did
nothing
the
between
same
those two
thing,
things.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
how did he get here? How the fuck did this guy
Yeah.
get here? How did
How'd they
his
cook him up
And
this
how
Yeah.
did they cook him up?
how did they pan fry this motherfucker in 2 seconds?
Yeah, because
You
it's
know-
like this huge, like, just exquisite meal too. So it's like prepared. It's like, nah.
Why did you guys move at all? Why did you move and do anything? Like, there's not even a moment where there's like, well, look, we either we keep moving or die. If they had said that one
Yeah.
line, it would have been at least acceptable, and then show them sort of wandering to the table instead of just like, oh, here's a table full of food,
or like
was
somebody
just off
new
camera.
chasing them, because they haven't even introduced new killers at this point. So they're literally like, you're right. There's no reason for
It's
any
like
of
the
it.
beginning of another episode where we're supposed to forget that, like, the specifics of what happened in the last episode.
It's like a new season.
Yeah.
This movie, so where this movie could have been successful is very similar to like the way some of the Saw movies were successful. Not the first one, but like the sequels, where like you see all these really intriguing traps and people get murdered in interesting ways, but you're replacing the traps with like these very interesting serial killers. Like you could have gotten really creative.
Which
with
is
these
actually
people.
just a movie we just watched, which was good.
Yeah.
The movie with
Haunt.
the people, Haunt, with the people with the
Haunt,
mask.
yeah. Pretty much, yeah. But he, like, all these heads are just like so base and nonsensical.
It's like the lowest level of Rob Zombie's creativity. More clowns, Rob. More clowns.
More clowns, yeah.
Clowns.
More carnival shit.
Yeah,
And
and things
the
that
most-
don't make sense.
More people in makeup and like
the
highly
dwarf
sexualized
that's
clothing.
a
And,
Nazi that also speaks
Yeah.
Spanish.
yeah, that's so many layers of unnecessary affectation.
And that's
And the
one
Nazi also
person.
wears an Easter bunny like hat.
Yeah, for no reason, like a helm, like a
So
bunny
much.
head.
And he sings this like song. This song, he's like, "Trick or treat, you are dead. I will smash your fucking head." So he's like mixing
So
in
he's
these like
Halloween.
random holidays.
He's a Halloween Nazi Spanish-speaking dwarf who likes Easter. Why is
Yeah.
that one character? Please, God. And
We-
they
we-
all wear makeup. Every single head in this movie wears like the silly makeup or whatever. I don't know, man.
But they
like,
don't
could you not
explain
have
it,
like you
yeah.
couldn't like it's not even subversive to like have a Dexter style killer in there who's just like a guy who looks totally normal, but it turns out he's fucked up. Like
Jim.
Yeah.
this is not that crazy.
God, but Richard
gotta talk-
Brake's intro is cool, or his like third intro where he prepares his makeup. I liked that. God, Richard
I
Brake
like watching.
is the only redeemable
Watchable
factor
part of
in
this
any of this pile of hot shit, dude. And even some of his scenes are rough. But when he
Yeah.
goes in, he does this whole thing where he's like, what does he say? Like, you're under control or something. Or, I'm under control. I'm
not crazy.
I'm
under
not
control.
crazy.
yeah, I'm under control, and like starts beating himself in the face. God, man, he kills it. And I'm just
I like that his
He
makeup
does.
man, this
is
man.
blood. Like that's a cool
Yeah.
idea. If
Yeah.
he had been the only person with makeup or the only person with like clownish makeup, that would have been fine.
Mhm.
But he had to include the two like country ass bumpkin brother rapist clowns. Rob.
After-
Stop going back to the same pool every fucking movie.
After I saw that scene with Richard Brake where he like is punching himself in the face to make his nose bleed and all that, I was like, this man should be the Joker. That would be.
Yeah,
I
I was
thought the
thinking
same
that
thing
too.
because there is one scene where he kind of does like the smile or whatever, and he like he kills
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
He's not
He would be
allowed
great.
to do subtlety in this movie though. So
Yeah.
like I don't know.
And
Yeah,
I
we
like
should-
all of Rob Zombie's movies. Like I've liked all of them.
That's what I wanted to talk
All
about.
of
So
them.
I wanted to.
Wow.
So one of the reasons, you joined because you're like, I'm actually a Rob Zombie fan. Unfortunately, this is the movie that we watch, and you actually don't like this one because again, this is one of the worst.
No,
Rob
that's
Zombie
okay.
films, which is
We're
nuts.
brothers and sisters in
yeah,
arms
which is-
for this one film.
But I'm
Mhm.
curious
Yeah.
because from honestly, I hate the only,
Honestly, I hate.
I honestly hate like The Devil's Rejects. I'm not a fan of his Halloween films. I have seen or House of a Thousand Corpses. The only one that I can kind of see like why people like it. I'm
Mhm.
still not personally a fan, but I don't have like the visceral hatred I do for like most of his other films.
Yeah.
And honestly, to me, a lot of the problems that we're mentioning, other than like this just general nonsensicalness, however, I still feel like a lot of like the editing and the dialogue and like just the Rob Zombie tropes of just these like backwoods yokel like characters that just pop up again and again in his films. I feel like this is pretty like standard Rob Zombie, and even though it's like on the
Yeah.
lower tier, a lot of the things I'm getting in this movie is what I come to expect from Rob Zombie. So I'm curious, like from your perspective, like how does this like why are these things seem more egregious in this film as opposed to the films that you enjoy from Rob Zombie?
So House of a Thousand Corpses, I first watched that movie when I was like in 8th grade. And when I watched it, I was like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand what that movie is about. And then I rewatched it, and it became one of my favorite movies. And I think it's because I think the main reason I don't like 31 is because well, all the things I've said already, but one big thing that stands out is Sherry Moon is like a good guy in this, and I don't think she plays it well. I think she kind of sucks. And I like, you can't be Sherry Moon's Rob Zombie character and be a good person. Like, because she's like, fuck you, blah, fuck you. And like, you know, being her character, but then she's like the victim. And I'm like, I don't really know if that makes sense. But you're either like a House of a Thousand Corpses person or a Devil's Rejects person. And I'm definitely the like 1%, which is House of a Thousand Corpses. Everyone else likes Devil's Rejects because it was more, you know, updated and cohesive and more of like a horror movie rather than like a campy film and yada yada whatever. But I did the same thing with Lords of Salem that I did with 31. Like, I watched it and I was like, gross. That's a bad movie.
Okay.
But I rewatched it and I liked it. So
Okay.
I thought maybe when you guys invited me on, I'm like, I'm gonna watch 31 again. Maybe I'll enjoy it better than last time. No, did not.
Okay.
But
So
I think
so
it's
you don't
because-
like Devil's Rejects at all, or you just like it less than a House of a Thousand Corpses?
I've only seen that movie twice, probably. When I've
Okay.
seen House
Oof.
like 20 billion times. But
Okay.
but for Devil's Rejects, I don't know. I don't really like movies with a bunch of like weird rape or gun stuff.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I didn't like.
so
that
like,
too.
yeah, like House of a Thousand Corpses is campy. He turns him into a fish. I mean, like, that's campy, fun, haunted house, weird hillbilly fun
Yeah.
stuff. But like, Devil's Rejects was like, I don't know, it's too weird, and like the gun thing and like rape stuff. I'm not a fan. So I was like, I understand where he's going, and I understand why people like that movie, but not really for me.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm with you in that. Again, I said like, I can understand why people like House of a Thousand Corpses of all of his movies. Like you said, with the campiness of that film like comes off to me. Like, here, I really don't know what he's trying to do except try to be edgy, but like, it's so bad that it's hard for my brain to comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you were that bad at it. Like, so I try to justify it.
I'd like to try and provide some context. So obviously I don't know Rob Zombie, but I listened to this like interview a while ago, and I think he did not want to make this movie. I think this was around the time that he was trying to make that hockey movie about the team from somewhere in New England. It's this like notorious hockey team that they're brawlers or whatever. I forget what he was trying to call that movie, but nobody would give him the funding for it because he's like Rob Zombie and makes these like shocky horror movies or whatever. Yeah. So he was trying to get that going, beating his head against the wall, and nothing was happening. Like, some producer asked if he had any ideas for horror movies at the time. He did not. So off the top of his head, he just started making up this movie, the plot of this movie. He's like, I don't know, there's some carnies that get captured on Halloween, and they gotta fight off these, psychopathic clown killers with, chainsaws or whatever. Yeah. And the producer was like, yeah, I'll give you money for that. So he just fucking made this movie because he wanted to make a movie, I guess. I don't really think his heart was in this,
He had it crowdfunded twice because he had no money for it.
That's the thing, though. Do you put something out for crowdfund if you don't want to do it? I don't think you do.
I don't know. And he said he came up with the idea after reading a statistic that Halloween is the #1 day of the year that people go missing. And I'm do you know what you could have done with that statistic as someone who makes Rob Zombie type films on Halloween? Like, if you would have said that about House of a Thousand Corpses, that would have made sense. Okay, these kids are going across the country looking at weird haunted horror attractions or weird attractions, and then they just went missing. Cool. That sounds like something that would go along with that quote. But this movie, the fuck are you talking about? Like, that just doesn't make sense.
This movie seems to have nothing to do with Halloween as far as I'm concerned.
No.
Like,
It
there's
really
nothing
doesn't. Yeah.
relevant to Halloween happening in this movie as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I think they just mention it is Halloween, and then that is it. That's the
Yeah, they really do. And yeah, because there's no visual connections. There's no, like, even beforehand, like, maybe, hey, mention, like, have the people
only
mention
thing is,
it. Like, the characters are falling around or something. Like,
yeah, we need to talk about powder wig people a little bit here.
Yeah, the McDowells, like, he's the only one, that group is, like, the only group that's actually, like, pushing the narrative of it being a Halloween thing, but they're not even doing that really because they're just calling it 31. This could happen at any time. This could be like, on St. Patrick's Day, these 3 white people get together and powder wig themselves and then murder some drifters. It could be anything. This could be an Into the Dark for any month.
Well, these powder wig people are just like rich ass people who are like betting on who they think is going to survive. And so
that's what I thought.
Yeah, they're doing this for their own entertainment, and I guess they do it every year. And this is just for some reason they wear powdered wigs and makeup. It's very stupid and doesn't make any sense. So that's what they do. And at the beginning of each round, before they release a new head, they give out statistics of whether or not people are going to survive. Like, chances you're going to die is 500 to 1, or survive 500 to 1.
They bet with like gold bullion and shit. It's like, oh god.
1%ers. Rob Zombie's trying to comment on society and he's failing.
But society is just these 3 people, these 3 old motherfuckers. Like the people, I don't know, man.
Can you guys tell me really anything about the main characters, the 5 people that are?
No, I was going to say the same thing. Can you tell me, other than Sherry Moon, whose arc is, I'm an asshole, now I'm a victim, now I'm survivor. Other than that, there is no character arcs in this movie.
There is a Rastafarian person.
Yes.
Or a Jamaican person, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
There's one guy who is at one point naked and boning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, the guy the long-haired white dude, is he with Sherry Moon? Like, what? Are they together, or are they just a bunch of people who are in the same RV? Like, I don't
know, man. At one point, I thought she was with the Rastafarian guy.
Me too.
They're just kind of like one. I don't know. It's like they don't spend any time on any of that shit. All they do is like talk about smoking weed and each other and talk about cunts and stuff, and that's it.
The long-haired guy does refer to himself as King Dong, which I thought was kind of funny.
That is funny.
So we got that going for us here.
Do we?
King Dong. Yes.
I don't know, man.
So weird.
I don't know. So I guess we can talk about the end a little bit. So like we get like 5 minutes at the very beginning of this movie, Richard Brake, and then we don't see him again until the 80-minute mark. He finally comes back and you're like, Jesus Christ, thank you. A character.
Yeah, God, thank God.
I'm doing my Sherry Moon zombie at the end of 31 face on camera right now.
Yeah, so we get him for the we get Richard Brake back for the last like 20 minutes or so, and the only 2 survivors at this point are the long-haired dude and Sherry Moon zombie. And Sherry Moon finally escapes, and the long-haired dude just immediately gets murdered by Richard Brake. He gets knifed to death.
He doesn't even try.
That dude should have been dead 12 times over, but like, I mean, horror movies, I know, I don't mind in this kind of movie so much, but come on. Like, there were multiple times where I was like, oh, that dude should be totally dead, and then like a couple other dudes get hit like once and they're gone. You got some paper people, and then you got mutton chops who can just really take a licking.
Not all jokes aside, this sounds like it's a joke, but the end was my favorite part.
Really?
And like the ending, well, hold on. Let me rewind. The end was my favorite part because it ends like 14 times. There's like, she escapes down the little thingy, then she gets out and he finds her, and then the bell rings and he's like, son of a bitch, I can't kill you now. It's over.
I was trying to think about
and I'm laying she's laying on the ground, and he had like punched her right in the fucking head, and she's like bleeding from her head. I thought that was pretty cool. But then you think, okay, so the thingy rang, so he has to leave. So she survived. So it's like she escaped. That could have been an ending. She survived. That could have been an ending. Then she's walking down the street, and that's the ending. It's like 3 different. It's so I'm like, just end it already.
So you like the very last shot? That's what you're saying? The
Like
very,
the little
very end?
cliffhanger, like where he just
Yeah.
smiles
So-
at her. It went on for at least 18 minutes, but it could have gone on for 18 seconds. But I like how it ended.
They had to
Like,
get to the big fever pitch of "Dream On."
It's true.
hmm So Sherry gets out. She finds this like abandoned house, and it's got that weird little like
Yeah, what the
marionette
fuck is the
thing
Calliope
inside of it.
marionette
Yeah,
machine
what was the
doing?
No, but I loved it.
connection? Like, why did it, like,
So
why
do
did
you
she...
know there's no connection in
Oh,
this?
well,
Yeah.
I know,
No.
but she saw it, and her reaction was
What does it all
like,
mean?
Oh my god,
yeah,
I'm
like-
realizing something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
We don't know
I
what that
was
is.
like set up or something, or like, but it doesn't matter, or like, not that
Yeah,
there's no
I
logical
don't-
reason for it to come back in any capacity.
Nothing. This movie is like completely ignores Chekhov's gun theory entirely as much as possible. It just like any pawns it sets in place are not there for a reason, and they just are left there for the entirety of the game.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's like a bunch of random like philosophical like just like random quotes. So like this movie actually starts at the very beginning with a quote from Franz Kafka. It says, "A first sign of the beginning of understanding is the wish to die," which I don't really know how that applies
It doesn't.
in any way
It
to
doesn't.
this movie at all.
None of them want to die.
And then- And then like when Doomhead enters the house and he punches Sherry in the face, she's like lying there and he lights a cigar and he's just like pontificating, just like spouting nonsense, really. He's
Mhm.
talking about how like in moments of great accomplishment, I feel the need to celebrate, and that's why he like lights the cigar and stuff. And then he says this quote from Che Guevara. He says, "Smoke in times of rest is a great companion to the solitary soldier." It's like, what is this?
He's making
character
quotes
you're
about
trying-
fucking cigars.
I
Why?
know, like it sounds
Yeah.
like you're trying to create a character or like some sort of it's like
personality.
psychology, like a psychosis for this character, but it's just like random stuff. But at least Richard Brake can deliver it in a manner that gets you to believe that there's something behind it, even when there just most definitely is not. I don't know. So yeah, he starts choking Sherry, and right before she expires, he lets go, and lets her catch her breath, and he smokes a little bit more, and he's just kind of like savoring the moment in a really sick, twisted way. And then the horn blows, which means the game is over, and he can no longer murder her, and she officially wins. And the Powdered Wig people are like, "What do we do? We've never had anybody win the game before." And they're like, "We don't know," and they just leave. And then
And they
don't
leave.
That's
give
it.
a fuck, I
And
guess.
they never show up. ever
Actually,
again.
somebody
Nope.
says something like, "I'll take care of it," but then they don't.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah. But then, Doomhead pulls up behind her as she's walking down the street all alone, gets out of his van, walks up to her and smiles menacingly, and it just holds on them two in the middle of the road for a second, and then roll credits. So
And
does she
that's
die?
it.
Does she not die? Nobody knows.
There
It
you
really
this movie's
doesn't
so
matter
bad.
at all.
It's
Yep.
so bad.
Yeah, when my mom watched it, she texted me, "Do you think he killed her?" I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know.
I don't
Probably,
even.
yeah. I mean,
This is like, it's like he
Probably.
was like, well, I gotta add some kind of depth to this, so I guess I'll like make it a cliffhanger, and then there's no resolution. You have to decide for yourself. But that's not.
no,
That
it's
doesn't
deep.
replace a point or a well written anything else that's happened in the movie.
Oh,
This
Yeah.
movie sound. It's like
Upsetting.
you guys seen those those like posts on Twitter and stuff that people like feed a bunch of like one writer or something's work into an AI and then have it try and write a book or a script
Mhm.
based on that. This is like what would happen if they fed all of Rob Zombie's writing into a fucking AI and it tried to write a Rob Zombie movie. That's what this fucking thing is. It doesn't make any sense, but it has all of the little parts that Rob Zombie loves to throw in there. Hillbilly
really
clowns,
does.
rapists, extra gore, Nazis for no reason.
monologues.
Yeah, just hyper overblown bullshit.
Yeah, and man, I was so excited for this movie too, because they're like 31, a Halloween movie by Rob Zombie. I'm like, hell yeah. And then I watched it and I remember I was immediately sad. I was like, why is that guy a Nazi? And he's speaking. I remember that's like the biggest part
You
that
know-
just ended it for me immediately.
I just don't think there's enough going on for this character. So
Yeah.
let's not talk about his pathos or anything, or let's not focus on anything he thinks or what he's doing or a new method. Let's make him speak Spanish.
Also,
and
And
what was
wear an
that
Easter
guy's-
bunny head.
Rob Zombie
Like-
seems to have like no sense of like filmmaking rhythm or anything. I know we talk about like how comedy and like horror kind of like related in the sense of like beats and just like the things he'll like just linger on, like scenes just go on and on and on, but with like little to no content to them. So like there's this one scene where like Sherry Moon Zombie like leaves her friend when he has been stabbed to kind of like coerce this dwarf out, and she's just like swinging a bat, and like their exchange is just seems so silly because there's no real tension or anything, but it just goes on and on and on and on, like the things. And then even at the beginning, like there's this dialogue about like these carnies talking about like doing this new sideshow thing, and like none of it matters, and it just like makes these scenes feel like they just drag on for no reason. It's like the dude has no, it's like the guy like has never seen a movie before. It's like it has no sense of like beats or anything about like
There's no climax to this movie. It just things just happen.
Yeah, we gotta.
but-
I was gonna say we gotta land this plane, but before we do, is there anything else y'all want to touch on real quick?
Nope.
Yeah, okay.
That horse
All
is
right.
dead.
All right. Yeah, I feel similarly. Let's go ahead and rate this thing out of 5. Randy, why don't you kick us off? What do you feel about 31?
I mean, I think we all know where I'm gonna land on this. I don't find anything redeeming really about this movie, and like Justin said, it's not that it's too edgy for me, it's that it's trying to be too edgy for me, and it seems just childish, like a child's version of what edgy is. It has no point, it has no like capable filmmaking going on really. It's just slapped together like it's multiple web shorts compiled into a movie. It doesn't work. There's no rhythm, there's no payoff or climax. There's like tons of like dangling strands at the end and just confusing cinematography choices all the way through. I think Richard Brake really is like that intro is really the best thing about it. I will say that the credit sequence sets a tone at least because nobody's talking. As soon as people start fucking talking after the credits, opening credits, it's just all downhill from there. I got nothing else good to say about it. I don't think. Like, I'm glad that Rob Zombie gets to make movies for people that want to see this, I guess. I don't know who's engaged with this movie, and I can't see from that point of view. So for me, it's a 0.5. That 0.5 comes exclusively from Richard Brake's opening. And I mean, I don't want to shit on people for liking this movie because great, but to me, this movie has nothing worth watching in it. It's just thrown together mess of trash ideas meant to shock, and it accomplishes none of that. It doesn't shock, it doesn't engage, it doesn't tell a story even really that's worth hearing or that hasn't been told a billion better ways. And it's just confusing. It's a mess. It's a 0.5 for me.
All right. Juice, how do you feel?
Not good, Bob. Don't feel good. I already don't like Rob Zombie, and this is, I think, like the worst film I think I've seen from him. Yeah, it is the worst film I've seen from him. But Richard Brake, man, here's some positives I will give for this movie, because there's just shit, which there's a lot of it. But Richard Brake is really dope. In most of his scenes, even he gets ruined sometimes. So, that's a good decision in hiring this guy and letting him do his thing. And also, there are some like cool visuals in this. If you are able to just take like a snapshot, like and separate this like from a movie sense, there are some like cool visuals and taken separately, and even like it's silly. It is like silly and dumb, but like the visualization, it could have been more like the sex and death characters. Like I thought, like, oh, as a pair, like maybe even like in a cartoon or so, like or something, like they kind of like worked in an interesting way. And I thought like, oh, okay, like I'm intrigued like when they showed up, but then they were just kind of wasted away. But there are moments like that where I'm like, oh, like what's this gonna be? Or like, oh, that like kind of looks cool. But those are the only positives I can give to this movie. Like I'm trying to like not just be like completely shitting on it, but it's really just bad. And I have a hard, I don't want to shit on anybody for liking this movie, but I just have a hard time understanding like why you would, because from a narrative standpoint it makes no sense. From a dialogue standpoint it's terrible. From like a color palette, like film standpoint, it's all over. It's a hot mess. And like there's, like Randy said, there's no ending, there's no client. Like there's just, it's like one of the worst films I've ever seen, like in just far as craft goes. It's just really bad. So I'm gonna give a half star as well. And I'm not even giving a half star for the Yabos, because Rob Zombie,
Whoa.
if he can't ruin Yabos, like because of like there were some nice Yabos in here, but then he's also got to throw in like the rape, like crusty dead
The
corpse
sex doll
Yabos,
lady.
and I'm just
Yeah.
like,
No one
fuck
wants to
you,
see
Rob
Yabos in
Zombie.
that
How
fashion.
you gonna ruin Yabos? God. So I'm not even giving this star. I'm not even giving the half star for the Yabos. So half star.
End of an era.
All he
Alright.
does is yabos, you know? Like
God.
I've seen him twice in concert, and he's just got Sherry Moon's yabos all over the place. No.
Really?
Oh yeah, like 2 screens in the back with her just dancing naked, and
That's
like
ridiculous.
you know how to do yabos, and you fucked it up.
Yeah, wasted the Yabos.
That's funny. Danielle, how do you feel about 31?
Yeah, so they pretty much captured everything. I would say, I hate rating movies. It's so hard for me, but I could say half a star for Doomhead guy who I can't think of his name right now.
Break.
Richard Brake.
Richard. I almost said Robert Brake. Richard Brake, and probably half a star for it being like, okay, yeah, Rob Zombie made a Rob Zombie movie. Like he seeked is that
Sought.
sought? Yeah. He sought out to do a Rob Zombie film, and if you don't go into this movie already liking all of his films, and you're just like kind of like Soju, where it's just like, this is what he does, you're gonna think that this is a Rob Zombie movie. I mean, you're just gonna know, like, hey, Rob Zombie did this. So probably just go 1 little star. One little star.
Jenner.
Yeah.
1 star.
And man, I love pretty much every horror movie. Like, people give me shit all the time for liking so many movies that people don't, and I just couldn't do it. And it makes me sad that I couldn't like this movie. It's like not liking tomatoes. It's like, man, I want to like tomatoes. It's good for you, but this one isn't good for you. It's not good.
This movie is not. If there's a food that this movie is, it's not tomatoes.
No.
It's like dirty dropped Cheetos underneath a park bench.
It's still good. 5-year rule. Just dust it off. So yeah, I don't like this movie. I like dick and fart jokes as much as the next person.
We know that.
More. I would argue more.
But
Yeah. You have a high appreciation of them.
I'm a connoisseur. Emphasis on the sewer.
Wow. See, an example right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like these characters and a lot of the characters that Rob Zombie tends to write are like sort of that, you know, but they're not funny in any way. Like the humor just isn't there. And the things that they're saying, I feel like, are intended to make you laugh because they're ridiculous. They're over the top. Normal people do not talk this way. But the humor is just lacking because there's like no originality in there, or like insight or intrigue, or these people aren't even really characters. They're just like facades that are saying silly things.
It's like
he
wanted to write Clerks, and he wanted to write in Reservoir Dogs, but in lacking substance, he just added a bunch of extra curse words that are supposed to shock us.
And a
That's what it
Nazi
feels like.
Spanish bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie's pretty nonsensical, and the gore for the most part also really isn't that effective. Maybe one or two things here and there, specifically whenever Richard Brake is in the picture. All the other like head characters are just kind of low-hanging fruit. Hey, let's grab some obviously strange things and mash them together. And of course, we get some clowns in there with some chainsaws too.
But even in that, it's like similar to his other shit. So
yeah, it feels very half-baked and uninspired. It's also like an hour and 40 minutes long, and it's crazy that in a movie that is that long, we really can't describe any of the main characters like at all.
I didn't even think about that.
So it's just it's not funny or scary or interesting at all. Richard Brake is the only thing that this movie has going for it, really. So I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5, simply because Richard Brake is in this movie for about 20 or 25 minutes. That'll get you a 1 star there. Okay.
There you go.
good to know.
So that's gonna put our aggregate at a 0.75.
Ooh, Rob Zombie, not good guy. Gotta
Mr. Z.
So let's go ahead and jump over into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the users have to say about 31.
Certified fresh to death.
It's okay. I will cover it though. So Danielle is right. 47% of critics somehow inexplicably have covered this so high. That's so high.
I've never been more confused by a score. I don't think.
Absolutely.
Total count, 45 critics rated this for a rotten 47%. The critic consensus is 31 delivers all the high energy gore Rob Zombie fans have come to expect, but a lack of fresh ideas and likable characters mean only the already converted need apply. I want to come down here. I want to see what some of these critics are saying and where they're saying it from.
Let's take them to task, Juice.
These are some top critics. Oh, what is... Oh, my God.
Ebert loves this movie.
Noel Murray says this from the Los Angeles Times. Top critic, fresh.
Noel Murray? God damn.
The Rob Zombie brand promises hardcore horror and scuzzy atmosphere, and 31 delivers just that. Even on autopilot, Zombie makes movies that hit hard and leave a stain. Not a soju stain. I'll tell you that right now. Not a soju stain. Another Simon Abrams top critic says, Zombie may not be working outside of his comfort zone. No shit, when has he ever? But 31 is one of his most impressive films to date, says a top critic. What? It's inexplicable to me. It's inexplicable to me.
These are all critics. I have to believe all these critics have kids that are going through a time right now in high school. That's the only explanation I can. Like, I gotta endear to my kid. He's gonna be lost to me. That's it.
This is relentlessly entertaining, brilliantly bloody, carnage with a career-defining performance from Richard Brake at its heart. What? Inexplicable to me. I can't
Inconceivable.
Unrelentingly entertaining. What is entertaining about this movie?
It's inconceivable. I don't get it. I don't get it. So let's hop into our audience score. Ooh,
Hello?
Somebody's at the door.
We got some pizza.
Some za.
Audience, pizza there, Bob. Go over there.
Audience score. User ratings. 4,483 people have rated Rob Zombie's 31. Let's go around the table and see. Danielle, do you know this score?
Yep.
Oh, you do know it. Okay, you can't
I
play.
do know.
You cannot
I can't play. I'm out. I lose.
Randy, kick us off. What do you think the oozers have to say about Rob Zombie's 31?
I've never been more lost in a Rotten Tomatoes segment in my life. Yes. The ghosts are here. I'm gonna say fucking the comedy number 69. I cannot. After hearing that critic score, my world is shaken. I can't begin to guess what people are saying about this fucking movie. Maybe this. I don't think the fans like this movie. My understanding is that even among Rob Zombie fans, like Danielle, it is not a beloved movie except with the most diehard. But even still, I just don't know what to think. I'm like, my confidence is shaken. 69.
Yeah. 60. Rob, where are you gonna take it?
It's gotta be lower than that, I would have to think. So I'll just go with 50.
50. You are correct, Bob. You're gonna take it. Somehow inexplicable. Inconceivable. I don't know what to think. I'm with Randy. I just I can't understand. But the audience score is lower than the critic score. 35% from the audience score, which at least is like better. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, better for sure. That
I usually take that percent anyways over critic.
Yeah. That 47% from critics. Like, critics usually give horror films a hard time anyways. Like, in this schlocky type of B campy type of movie, 47%. Like, where the hell is that coming from?
Maybe their expectations for Rob Zombie are so fucking low that they're trying to see it from the point of view of somebody who loves him.
Maybe just Richard Brake saved it that much for them.
But no,
maybe they just watched the opening segment. Maybe they watched the opening segment. It was like, yeah, Rob Zombie really pulled it off this time.
Yeah, Rob Zombie really did a Rob Zombie here. Good Rob Zombie and Rob Zombie.
Watched the first 8 minutes and rated it. Goddamn. All right, that is our Rotten Tomatoes segment. Inconceivable.
Cool. Randy, you have some trivia, right?
I have very little that I will speed through in the interest of time.
Okay, so, let's do it.
All right. If I can get this thing to play, that would be a miracle.
It's totally time for trivia.
A miracle has happened. All right. All right. So actually, Danielle had a lot of good trivia already, so I can actually skip over a few of these because she brought the heat. No. It's good. I'm glad. I like it that way, so I don't have to go through any more of this IMDb bullshit. So going back to our discussion about this being crowdfunded, this says, to clear a path for his new 31 franchise, Rob Zombie told fans he was unable to make another movie with the characters from House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects because Lionsgate owns them. A Lionsgate executive denied Zombie's own claim, saying that he could do, quote, whatever he wants with the characters because Zombie still owns them. So I don't know what the fuck Rob Zombie said that for. My guess, is he making an excuse so that he can make this franchise or this movie that he assumed would be a franchise?
Probably. What? I mean, he probably knew that people would be pissed that the original cast isn't in it because
maybe. Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty much the reason why people like the other franchise, which, by the way, I haven't seen 3 from Hell yet because people said it was trash, and I'm sad, and I don't want to see it. And I'm scared to see it.
Disillusions are happening.
I just think that people will. No, he probably thought that people would be pissed, so he was probably like, "Oh, sorry, I can't."
Bob, which is worse, 3 from Hell or this movie, 31? You've seen.
I think 31 is worse.
Yeah.
Oh,
how much? Yeah. Like substantially?
Yeah, I kind of. So there's. I don't know. Maybe like half of 3 from Hell is entertaining, or probably closer to like a third is entertaining. The last third. If you
We're
just
dropping like a stone here, but
fast forward through the first hour of that movie, and then watch the last like 40 minutes, because again, it's an hour and fucking 40 minutes long.
Oh my god!
Make shorter movies, Rob Zombie. The first hour is really nonsense and it's pointless. Okay. So if you're cool with that, watch it.
Oof.
Cool.
I'm gonna watch it tonight and bring it back to you guys and see how I feel.
I hope you do, actually.
According to Box Office Mojo, this film was released only for 5 weeks and grossed less than $800,000. it spent 1.5 million to make, and it looks like they spent less to make. So,
Right?
I don't know. So
I actually
let's talk.
couldn't believe that number.
Yeah, that's crazy, especially when you consider this piece of trivia. The home movie montage footage of the carnival workers was shot on Rob Zombie's phone.
Damn.
Yikes.
Wait, what montage?
The montage of the carnival workers, like at the beginning. I'm assuming that's the one they're talking about, of them fucking around and dancing for the camera and shit.
Oh,
okay.
What kind of phone he
okay.
had.
I gotcha.
Yeah, which they kind of like threw sepia on it.
I
and
actually
shit,
liked.
I
I actually kind of liked that little segment. Too.
I was
forgot
okay
to
with
add
that.
in my positives as well. That's why starting this movie off, I was like, oh, hey, okay.
No, yeah, I agree. And like the only reason I bring that up as a negative is because like where did that 1.5 go?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
where did it go?
Yeah.
It's not on screen. It's in
Um,
his bank account.
I guess so. It was shot in 20 days. It looks like it.
Oh my god.
Let's see. Yeah, we talked about the fluent Spanish. Sherry Moon Zombie came up with the idea to use Dream On by Steven Tyler at the end.
Cool.
Okay. I mean, that was a choice. It
That
literally
was a
could have been.
choice.
It could have been any classic rock song. Period. It would have had the exact same fucking effect.
That's what they
They
do.
could've
Yeah,
played-
they throw in that California Dreamin' or whatever
Yeah.
song in here, and she's like, "Oh, I love this song. It has nothing to do with anything."
Yeah. Like you want to
She's
break
like,
the
make sure you put on
Just-
on IMDb.
It's just like
Yeah,
they
really.
literally want to be like, "Oh, this is a good song." It's like, yeah, we fucking know. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, this is not a deep cut. It's Steven
Yeah,
fucking Tyler.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sherry Moon Zombie commented on her character. Charlie is totally a victim in this movie, and she's only doing everything out of the instinct to survive, like Heidi from The Lords of Salem. I think that it
No
shows
shit,
that
she's a
everyone.
victim. She's kidnapped.
I think it shows that everyone has it in them, and they can so that everyone has that in them, and they can come out. It's kill or be killed. So that
What?
describes the only character arc, and it is fight or flight. That can be
Also,
expressed
she-
in a 1 minute short period.
Yes. Also, she compared it to Heidi from Lords of Salem. I don't know if you guys have seen Lords of Salem, but
I have not.
110% not the same character.
That's a lot of percent.
That's a heck
Like-
of a lot of percent.
Like, they're what? That's not even the same scenario, the same type of character, the same personality. I don't like that.
Sherry Moon does a lot of peyote, so take what she says with a grain of
And
salt.
apparently some interviews.
Yeah.
This is this is gonna be the last one. After the quote meal, you see two goons wearing masks made of skin, and I think this is I guess they're talking about the two clown brothers, the rapists, which I feel like there's a better way to describe them than that. But the skins are supposed to resemble Otis and Captain Spaulding from House of a Thousand Corpses.
I didn't
Okay.
catch that.
He just
Cool.
took his scripts, cut them up, and mashed them together, like literally
Mad
cut them
Lib.
line for line, like heavy metal, and just threw that shit into a blender. I don't know.
I have a quick real life trivia for you.
Yeah.
When I was 19, I worked at Hot Topic, and Rob Zombie came into our mall,
Oh shit.
and I met him and Sherry Moon Zombie and John 5, and he was really short. Rob Zombie was like to my shoulder, probably like the same height as me, and I'm
Really? I didn't
5'5".
know
Oh,
it
was
that
he
short.
was he at least a Maynard James Keenan high?
He was
Man.
tiny.
Ooh, man, smaller than Maynard?
Huh.
I don't know. I don't know that.
Okay.
But he looked like he was homeless like usual, but like, so no one realized who they were walking around the mall because he just looked like a normal person. But it was so weird because I walked up to him and I was like, "Hey, can I get a photo with you?" And he was like, "Sure." And Sherry Moon Zombie was behind him, but I didn't even recognize who she was because she literally looked like a vanilla mom. Like, she had this sweater dress on with cowboy boots, and like her hair was straightened, and like I
That's
didn't even
interesting.
recognize who she was. I thought she was like his publicist or something. And then John
Huh.
5 was really rude because I didn't care about him. So
I'm famous too.
Don't you want a
Yeah.
photo
We're on our
with
way-
me, you bitch?
Look, we're on our way to Penny's to get sweater vests, okay?
yeah,
Cut us some
it was-
slack.
he was upset, and he said, "Can we hurry this along here?" And I was
Oh
like,
my
"Whoa, dude!
God.
Just because you
Cool.
just because you fakely play the guitar with your teeth on stage doesn't mean you're cool, my guy."
Well,
Shots fired.
That's some
Yep.
fun trivia.
Fuck you, John 5.
I think it's time to go hunting. What do you guys think?
let's hunt.
Let's do it.
Cooler of the week.
Dude,
I think we're
going
gonna
to
be-
to Rob Zombie for making this. This is like a cooter of a movie. It's
Mhm.
like, it's, God damn it, the dialogue
31,
isn't
the
so
cooter movie.
cringe. Oh my God. He manipulated people into taking these roles.
I'm
clearly a
actually
sexual
down with
deviant.
that because he manipulated people into giving him money on
Yeah,
GoFundMe to make
people
this
spent money on this
good movie.
directly
Yeah.
to make it.
Yeah, and sexual deviant out the wazoo. Ruined Diabos. I mean, come on. I'm giving
He's
it
got
to
his
Rob
wife.
Zombie.
Dancing naked on stage, I guess.
Obviously, all the attire in this thing is like
All of it, yeah.
ridiculous.
It's totally, and it's intentional. So I mean,
Yeah,
you can't deny it.
He made those choices.
I think he'd be happy to have all of his characters labeled cooters, but I don't know that he'd be happy to be labeled one himself. So
he is a
I agree
yep,
with you.
good. I'm giving it to Rob Zombie. You are the cooter of the week. Let's go ahead. Let's go down the
Yeah, what's the points?
requirements. We've got sexual
What
deviancy.
constitutes a cooter?
The cooter is sexual deviancy, which is high here. We have manipulation, smug arrogance.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Attire and patheticness. So yeah, I feel like he's riding high on most of these tiers. Attire for sure. Sexual deviancy for sure. Some smug arrogance and just the like. I feel like there's some built-in smug arrogance, like
just releasing this was
just
pretty
like the
arrogant.
hubris of like, like
He
releasing
actually
this and
seems kind of like a cool guy. Like I've listened to some interviews with him. He seems
I'll agree
kinda
with
cool.
you on that. Like I feel like on a one-on-one basis, he's probably not a bad dude, and I wish him no ill, except when it comes to these movies,
Yeah.
man. This one in particular.
He's not a great filmmaker.
Chill in the way that, like, I watched an interview with him, I think on Joe Rogan, and it really does seem like he's just like doesn't put a lot of effort into things, but admits it. Like, hey, I just kind of lucked into a lot of things. But then to crowdfund it, then okay, like if you like, he lucked into like a House of a Thousand Corpses. He was saying like he was hanging out at Universal Studios a lot, and somebody just kind of let him make a movie. It's like, okay, but to like crowdfund one and to just like shit it all away and to think like you're making some sweet shit, I don't know. It seems a little arrogant to me. But
I'd say the crowdfunders as a whole is a big old cooter.
why give this man
They made
A
this
block of
possible.
cooters.
Yeah, I mean,
They made this happen.
possible.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm giving it to Rob Zombie. He's taking the
They're
cooter cake from me.
All the people crowdfunded this movie just turned to each other and were like, "Wait a minute, are we the cooters? Oh no!
Oh shit! I didn't know I was the cooter.
I think I second Rob Zombie on that. I second the motion for Rob Zombie Cooter of the
All
Week.
right.
Sold."
Yeah, it has been decided. The court of cooter has spoken. It is Rob Zombie.
There's
Not
not
adjourned.
enough.
I win the gold bullion.
God. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's go ahead and jump into our Hotline Scream segment. So, if you are listening and would like to hit us up, leave us a voicemail to be featured on the show. You can call in and do that at 904-638-3231. We got a bunch of voicemails this week. So we're actually going to save a few that we got for next week's show. And I think we're still going to play through, I think, 4 this evening. So we got a few to get through. First up, we're going to hear from Alex. Let's see what Alex has to say.
What's up, hard boy stains? It's me. It's Alex again. This time I've got a little more of a lighter thing for you. So I saw that you were doing the top 3 films of all time, and my top 3 favorite horror movies. It might surprise you. I'll be 28 in December, and I really prefer like the classic horror movies. But my first number one pick is Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I don't really know how to describe it. I really love that movie. The makeup work is phenomenal for the time that it came out. And you know, the plot was very basic. It wasn't bloated like a lot of horror movies nowadays. So I find a charm in the classics. My second pick, huge thing, you're really gonna like this, is The Witch from Robert Eggers. I also am a huge fan of him, and The Witch is easily one of the greatest horror movies I've seen in such a long time. And my third pick is, well, I don't know. Some people don't consider it a horror movie, I guess, but I do. But that is American Psycho. That is one of my absolute favorites. I could watch that movie over and over and over again. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this little segment. And I really appreciate that you guys are very responsive, not only with your voicemails, but also messaging. It really is pretty cool. We can, like, all us straight chillin' fans can connect with you guys so easily, because a lot of people, they don't do that. So keep chillin' and keep making some fucking fire. And I'll see you guys, or I won't see you. I'll talk to you soon.
We make fire with hands.
Alex, thank you, my man. I think that dude was. I'm assuming he was buzzing. I could be wrong.
He might have had a kid in the room. It kind of sounded
like he was holding.
He might have been
child.
distracted by
Maybe,
a child.
Okay. Which can.
It was one or the other. They're basically the same state of being.
It could have been both. He could have been shit blasted on his ass holding his baby.
We're not gonna out him on that. Dox this poor guy. But no,
DJ
thank you, man.
What up?
That's the first time I've ever heard somebody use the phrase "straight chilling fan" out in the wild, and it sounds like you made a mistake.
Don't forget, he sees us. He's looking at us right now. Oh, dear God.
YouTube exclusive.
YouTube exclusive.
Yeah.
Those are some good picks.
Those were good picks, man. Yeah, good picks. I, of course, appreciate the Vitch. Thanks for the shouts outs.
Yeah, we don't ever really talk about like the Universal horror like era that much.
No,
not much.
Maybe we should look back at that
a poll pick.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, the Black Lagoon was partially filled in Jax, so I mean,
it was.
Yeah. We got
roots out. What up?
Yeah.
Represent.
And American Psycho, absolutely a horror movie. If anybody tells you otherwise, they're just fucking lying.
What else would it be?
They're wrong and dumb.
Yep. You're wrong and you're dumb.
A dangerous combo.
Speaking of American Psycho, there was a bunch of why can't I think of people's names? There was a bunch of the main character, Christian Bale's character, Patrick Bateman. Yeah. There was a bunch of Bateman costumes at the Halloween pub crawl this year, and every one of them got better and better as I saw them. And so my sister and I were there, and we were like,
"You got drunker and drunker."
I just had a mental image of like 12 people dressed as Bateman standing around a table looking at each other's cards with gritted teeth.
I asked every single one of them if they had a business card, and they said no. And I was like, "You're fired, Patrick Bateman."
Man, that's like you're going. That's
You
not a
have to.
difficult cosplay, like all things
No.
considered, compared to other ones. You could at least spring for whatever, $50 for like 20 cards.
Make one up. Cut one out of printer paper. Who
Yeah.
cares?
As long as it's off-white and embossed.
We got a few more voicemails here we got to bang through real quick. Next one we got here, we're going to hear from Rage Cat. Let's hear what he has to say.
When I hear that hotline scream, I can only mean one thing. Hey guys, it's Rage Cat here. I just finished listening to your Noroi episode, and I have to hand it to Randy. I really take his side on all of this because there was a lot that like I feel was really good about the film. I do enjoy that it's kind of a muddled mess of things because if we are to believe this is found footage after all, and it's probably going to be scrambled together in some sort of unorganized mess, and there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be really muddled and confusing and might even lead nowhere, and what makes you wonder why it was in it. But again, if it's found, you're not really going to be putting everything together. Now, through a story standpoint, yeah, it's going to be kind of a mess, but I do believe that pretty much enhances the film. And no, it ends up being one of my favorite horror films, like out there, or at least with the found footage style. Even though I'm also not a big fan of found footage. So you know, it was overall, I do believe you guys have some valid criticisms. I just wanted to say that little bit there that I feel that it being unorganized was more towards its benefit. And you know, I do want to like sort of answer that guy's top 3 movies, which mine personally are The Princess Bride, John Carpenter's The Thing, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Do keep up the good work. I'm excited for all of these things, including the blood bracket or whatever it was called. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, and I look forward to it. So keep chilling, you guys.
Hey, Rage Cat, thanks for calling, man. Princess Bride, solid pick.
Yeah, good pick.
Solid pick.
Scary as shit. Inconceivable.
Yeah, weird that we've been referencing it.
Just referenced that. It's crazy.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Roger Rabbit is a great one too. I love hearing people's top 3s because it's so varied, but it's pretty rare that you hear one that you're like, what the fuck? Get out of here. Like there's none of that really happening. People always like pick one that you like forget about, it seems like.
Yeah.
Right. This just seems to be my case. I was happy with that. And I'm glad that I could speak for your voice, Rage Cat, and protecting the Roy from its slurriest, scandalous attacks.
Man of the people, Randy.
Oh, Randy. We got another voicemail here. Looks like we're going to be hearing from Jim G. Baby.
Jim G.
Let's see what he has to say.
Here come my top 3 picks and some honorable mentions. Hey gang, it's G Baby. Sorry, I fucking had that Men in Black tune stuck in my head like last 2 weeks. My wife is stoked about it. Alright, my top 3 films. I feel like this question, it's like who are you trying to impress? So I'm going to be whole hog, truthful right now. And like Randy said in the past too, I can't stick with 3, so I have to include some honorable mentions. So sue me. So top 3. In my heart of hearts, my favorite films of all time, number 1, Blade Runner. Introduced to it at a young age, I was 12, saw it every Thanksgiving, blew my mind. I just love it, how gritty it is, sci-fi one, Harrison Ford's a G. 2, It Follows, that's a new one, but from day one, that's been like, let's rock it up on this. It's steady top 3, and I'm going to be riding that shit to the ground for the fucking bracket of blood. It Follows is just dope. Good braingasm. 3, this one was hard, but I gotta go with Ridley Scott film. Nope, fuck that. Chinatown, number 3. Jack Nicholson in his prime, circa 1975. This was a movie I saw when I was like 25, and it made me get over myself and like actually be into watching older films. So I broke that cycle. I was jaded. I thought all old films fucking sucked ass. But then I saw Chinatown and fucking blew my mind. So I highly recommend that if you think old films are trash. Yeah, Jack Nicholson's peak. That's a fucking banger. Honorable mentions. I'm gonna go through them real quick. Black Rain, Michael Douglas, directed by Ridley Scott. Fucking dope film. Andy Garcia's in it too. Doc Hollywood, Michael J. Fox. Almost went with Back to the Future here, but fuck. Doc Hollywood's just not like a film. Anytime I could watch it, just no problem. Halfway through, last third, whatever. Charm, wholesome, funny as fuck. Great picture.
And we get cut off.
Yeah.
So-
Jim was running
Doc
low.
Hollywood? Is that what he said?
I think so. So here's a funny thing that I'm going to have to read some of this speech to text because this is by far the most trouble Google has had. So here's this movie, this review, or sorry, this voicemail, as you recall, started with a riff on the Men in Black theme song. So let's hear what that came out to be. Yeah, tell him my top 3 picks and chooses to smoke my head like my wife. All right, I talked to him. I feel like this question, who you trying to impress? So I'm going to be full whole hog truthful right now. Like Randy said in the past, I can't stick with jury. So I have to include some nation's wage.
Nice.
There's more. There's so much more.
I
At one point he says,
oh,
so
God.
broke the cycle. I was Jaden. That's all I'm trying to tell my mom. And so highly I recommend that if you think, open up to crash. Yeah, Jack, that's honorable mentions in the Western real quick. Michael Douglas dead. Hollywood. Michael J. Fox. Almost went Back to the Future here. It just goes on like this. It's the best. It's the
Nonsense.
fucking best.
I
Sounds like
love
Jim's
how he
wasted
said,
as
like,
well.
that's been stuck in my head all week. My wife's loving that. And then it made me think of Randy stuck on Warm Side of the Door and Beck's
So,
bitch
whoa,
not
yeah.
singing it in bed.
So pissed.
I love it.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
It
boy.
follows. That is a banger. Solid choice,
It's a
Jim
good
G. Baby,
one.
for your
Might
top
see it on
3.
the old
Yeah.
bracket of blood.
Doc
I don't know.
Hollywood. Real winner.
know. We'll
I've never
see.
seen
I've never seen it.
I've not
Never seen
either.
it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Chinatown is actually one that
Never seen
that's
that.
definitely in a top something for me. I really like that movie a lot.
Top things of the whatever.
I'm not
Chinatown's
committing
right
to
in
shit.
It Follows soundtrack, top 10.
That was good.
Banger.
I listen to that at work. It sometimes makes me anxious, but I do it anyways.
Someone's behind me all the time
Yeah,
at work.
all
I
the
don't know
time.
why. We got one more we're going to play here this evening. We got a voicemail coming up from Jackie B. Let's hear what she has to say.
What's up, guys? Jackie B. calling from Chicago. I'm just responding to your hotline scream of the week. So I feel like this list is constantly evolving, changes pretty frequently, but as of right now, my favorite 3 movies are Fargo, love some Coen Brothers, Boogie Nights, and struggling on the third, but I'd say it would probably have to be I really like Spirited Away. I feel like I watch that movie on a almost monthly basis. So I also am just calling because I finally got around to watching Dr. Sleep. I was supposed to see it last week, but ended up having to work. And I'm real disappointed. I feel like, so I read both The Shining book and Dr. Sleep pretty soon after one another, and I just feel like, the whole message that I got from the book was completely different than I was listening to a little bit of the podcast, and I think it was Randy said something. It just felt like a greatest hits of The Shining, which I kind of really just felt similarly. I feel like what made Dr. Sleep so good is it felt like a character study of somebody who despite hating everything that his father was, kind of just became everything that he hated, particularly with his struggle with alcoholism. I feel like the first, 100 or so pages of Dr. Sleep is focused on kind of Dan hitting rock bottom. You really, see how low his life has gotten, and I feel like in the movie it just was kind of like his whole development after what happened to him at the Overlook. It just felt so cheap. Like, it just showed a couple shots of him drinking in a bar and fighting and like waking up with some woman next to him who he doesn't remember. And it just really it felt like a SparkNotes version of what I felt was the most powerful part about that book, and the whole ending was like, I mean, they completely changed the ending. I'm not going to sit here and make a comparison between the book and the movie because I could do that all day, but I just felt like the book was more like a triumph of his character, and having him.
And we cut off.
All right. 3-minute limit, guys.
Yeah. So
that's interesting about the Dr. Sleep like being a character study, because like when we are comparing it like to The Shining, especially like talking about The Shining versus the book, it seems like The Shining film maybe seems more focused on like the idea of a character study, like of the descent into madness and whatnot.
Certainly more than the Dr. Sleep film.
Yeah. So that's interesting to like kind of have those differences where I assume they try to stick more with the book and Dr. Sleep than they did with like the Shining film and the book and stuff like that. But not having read them, I guess it's kind of hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Sleep does not feel like a character study really at all. There's just like so much plot they're trying to bang through. I feel like you don't really sit with any one character for any length of time at all and really get to know them, or their struggle is just it's just so rapid fire. There's so much to get through.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not a perfect movie, but it's all right.
It's seeped with steam, though.
Oh,
world's so steamy.
Steamy ass movie.
Also, good. Like your top 3 that you gave, Jackie, was a great top 3. Those are all movies that I fucking love and have watched many, many times. Fargo. Sorry.
Those top 3 movies definitely tell me that Jackie's cooler than me. Immediately, because every movie I was like, "Whoa, those are great."
Dude,
those top 3.
There was a summer, like I think it was last summer, or maybe the summer before, where I watched Boogie Nights at least 4 times over the course of like a couple months, and I did not get tired of that shit. It is so fucking fun to watch. God, that's a great movie. Spirited Away.
Randy's in it for that prosthetic dick.
I mean, I just skip right to
why,
that point,
Randy.
obviously.
Freeze frame.
I didn't say that I watched the whole movie every time.
Thanks for calling, Jackie. It's always good to hear from you. And like I said, we got some other voicemails this week. We didn't forget about you guys. We're just holding some of those for next week because we got a lot. So like I said, if you want to hit us up, you can leave us a voicemail at 904-638-3231. There is now only one thing left to do. I believe it's time to save a life.
Where did Bob go wrong? Were he and his friends sifting way too long through those Blu-ray bins? And it gets worse, he'll have no jet ski, wasting all his dough on those DVDs.
And copyright strike.
Yes. That never happens. Bob, this is a segment for you. You have been wasting all your dough on those DVDs. This is your record-breaking month. It is the last show we will have in this month. We're not going to get to Black Friday as far as the podcast goes. That'll be next week in December. So it's your last chance to blow our nuts away, Bob, with
Please don't blow my nuts away.
With all the money and the Blu-rays you've been buying. 33, I believe, is the number we're up to now, Bob.
For this month.
Yeah, that is the number of movies I've purchased this month. And this is the moment in time where I get shamed publicly by my friends.
We're trying to
Deservedly is the word you're looking
and
for.
help Bob maybe buy less Blu-rays. We're just gonna drown in them one night.
We want Rob's 401k to mean something.
They're gonna collapse onto him, and he's just gonna die in a sleep from crushed by Blu-ray.
These things really hold value, you know.
Yeah. Bob, all right, show us the stack, a YouTube exclusive. What you got this week? What are we gonna hit?
Oh no, I can tell this is not gonna be great.
Rob's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 movies. Bob.
10 for the week.
Oh yeah.
Motherfucker. You're good. Rob.
We haven't even hit Black Friday. We haven't even hit
God.
it.
Is your tolerance down or what?
Cyber Mondays coming up, Mom?
True. So let me run it down. I got 2 DVDs. Like I mentioned, I was trying to find some more obscure Christmas-related horror films. So I got ATM and a French movie called Calvaire. I haven't watched Calvaire yet, but I believe it's like part of the new French Extremity wave, so it's like one of those joints. Everything else I got was Blu-rays put out by Scream Factory. I picked up Road Games, which is one that they just released. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis in it. I've never seen that one before. And then I got a bunch of other stuff from Scream Factory that's going out of print. I picked up Disturbing Behavior, the Garbage Pail Kids movie. Ghoulies, which was like a double feature of Ghoulies 1 and 2. I did. I got another double feature called The Food of the Gods and Frogs. I picked up Ghost Town. I picked up yeah.
Randy is not impressed.
I'm just like these, man. That bin has got to be bone dry for you to pick up frogs.
Picked up another double feature of Species 3 and Species the Awakening, and another double feature of The Curse and The Curse 2. That's what I got this week.
43, Rob.
Sounds good.
If you buy Hell Comes to Frogtown next month, next week, you'll be all set with your frog viewing.
Rob, before now, you had never hit over 20. You have raised your overall average very high. Yeah, just Freudian slip there. Rob, you are 43. That's a lot of Blu-rays you purchased. You would have to watch almost 2 a day to get through that stack. Haven't hit Black Friday, haven't hit Cyber Monday. A guy hasn't got, or a dude hasn't got gift cards yet for Christmas. So I'm worried. I'm worried about December. I'm worried about January. I'm worried about Bob in general.
I'm gonna get you a Roku for your Christmas gift.
Bob,
I don't want it. Physical media, baby. Physical media.
43 Blu-rays.
Can't jerk off on a stream.
Our whole Lord. Oh my Lord.
My Lord.
Our whole goal is to see by the end of this year, which is coming up in 4 weeks, could Bob have just purchased a jet ski had he saved all his Blu-ray money? The evidence is growing increasingly clear that Bob could have.
You're at least in down payment territory right now, buddy.
Bought a jet ski. We will average them all out by the end of the year, but with this 43, I'm feeling confident Bob is going to hit that jet ski number. Bob, we're still waiting on that call from a jet ski salesman to let us know what kind of deals Bob could have gotten, and a potential.
Mr. Sea-Doo, please
Mr.
put in a call
me.
To our hotline screen.
We'd also like to discuss a potential sponsorship by you. Since Bob has wasted all his dough on a Blu-ray, on his Blu-rays, we didn't know maybe if we could get a free one, since Bob can't purchase one now. Yeah.
That would be important for us to have.
I'll wait for Mr.
Do
to call and provide us with that. So that's gonna do it for us here this week at Straight Chilling. We're gonna be back next week with a brand new show. we're gonna be doing something a little bit different. Actually, we're gonna be doing a topic episode and not a straight up movie review like we usually do. So we're kicking off our bracket of blood next week, like we have been saying. So sort of in honor of that and to help really kick that off the way it needs to be kicked off, we're going to be doing an episode covering our top 10 films of the decade, our personal favorite movies from the decade. We're also going to be talking about like some superlatives that we're going to be handing out, and just kind of having a general retrospective of the decade in general.
Yeah, just covering the greatest decade in horror.
Potentially.
Possibly.
I heard a skeptical.
Not impressed.
Inconceivable. So keep your eyes peeled for our bonus episode on Black Friday, where we're going to be further discussing the inner workings of this bracket of blood. Keep your eyes peeled for our top 10 films of the decade episode coming at you next week. And of course, the bracket of blood goes live December 2nd. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We got a lot of stuff rolling out.
Here we go.
Midnight. Yeah. So Danielle, again, thanks so much for joining us this week and dealing with our goofy asses.
Thanks for letting me come and be goofy too.
Absolutely. Do you want to remind everybody where they can find your stuff?
Yeah. I do a horror podcast where we interview people in the horror community. You can find us on any podcast platform under Ghoulish Cast. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghoulish Show, Instagram at Something Ghoulish, and then my personal Instagram and Twitter is at The Ghoulish Girl. We're also on Patreon and YouTube under Something Ghoulish, and also we have a Facebook page under Something Ghoulish as well.
And it's all dope.
And
Nice.
they're all sick nasty.
Hell yeah.
Check them out. I mean, Anthony's like fine or whatever, but Danielle's dope. So
yeah.
Thank God he found me.
I know, right? You're really doing him a solid.
He'd be under a bridge right now.
Poor Anthony.
We play because we love. So that's gonna do it for us. Yeah. Check us out everywhere. You know where we are. We're on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. We're on Twitter at str8_chilling. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on our Slack channel, we talk about the movie of the week, talk about horror TV, music, all kinds of fun stuff. Let us know on any one of those social media outlets. I'll send you a link so you can join us on Slack. And I think that about does it. Bracket of blood coming at you.
The blood bracket or whatever.
Or whatever we're calling this thing. I don't know. So yeah, until next time, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.